Coach, do you have an update on Yvonne and how he's doing?
I don't. He is at the doctor's office as we speak, getting an MRI. I think the way those things work is we really won't know anything till tomorrow when the doctors look at the MRI and give us a better idea of where he's at. We're just hoping and praying for the best right now.
What did it appear happened that you saw? What did it look like was going on when you saw the play he was involved in and where he ended up having an issue?
Yeah, it was just an awkward play. You know, he went up to dunk it, and the other guy was trying to block it, and he was airborne, and you don't have a lot of control of what's going on at that point, and he just grabbed onto the rim to kind of save himself, and he just kind of came down like parallel with the ground, and it just was an awkward landing. And but again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
Did you agree with the flagrant 1 call as opposed to a flagrant 2?
Yeah, I was fine with it. I mean, nobody likes those situations, but sports happens, and in my mind, I don't think they were trying to do anything malicious. It's just a basketball play that got scary there when they were both in the air.
If he is forced to miss time, who has to be the guy that steps up for this team, or maybe guys plural?
Well, fortunately, we've talked about our depth, ad nauseum this year, and this team has shown the ability to play a lot of guys. So, we are equipped to handle, situations like this if it comes to that. But I don't necessarily think it'll be one guy. We just we won't have, Yvonne. And, he plays 17, 18 minutes a game, and that will force maybe some other guys to play a little more minutes. But, we'll just wait and see what we hear tomorrow.
Johnny playing the 5, is that something that you might have to do?
Absolutely. I mean, he's played a lot of 5. In his young career thus far, and it's probably, to be honest with you, his best position right now with his skill set where it's at. He's a little bit better around the basket, but certainly we think his best position going forward is more of a 4-man for us and for him, and we like to play him in that spot. It just makes us bigger, more athletic. A better rebounding team when he's out there at the 4 along with another 5, but we certainly can slide him over to the 5, and he's played that position, like I said, a lot already in his career.
You guys are almost halfway through the first round of WAC play. Has anything surprised you? Has anything stood out to you across the league?
There's a lot of talk prior to the season about the balance of the league and that it was better all the way around. The numbers that the computers spit out were all very favorable towards the WAC, maybe comparative to 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so on paper, I think we all talked about it, but now that you're in these games and you're competing against these teams that are more confident and have more players back, and it's just that sentiment is true. I mean, it's harder to win games, either at home or on the road. Certainly it's harder on the road, but you just – when you break out the folder for the teams you're about to play, you just see more familiar names. There's not been maybe as much turnover as in the past from coaches and players, and people are their feet are on the ground longer and they're more comfortable, and the training's more and better. So I just think that sentiment and that thought that it was going to be more balanced and harder to win games is true. And we just went through it Saturday, and it came down to the last second. And whereas last year, we didn't have many problems with teams like that.
Yeah, how have you performed in these close games? I think you guys have done a good job executing Grand Canyon. Maybe there's a couple mistakes late, but since then you pulled away from Utah Valley. You closed this one out the other night. How are you guys executing in the late game stages here?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a number of close games, a number of games that have went down the last 3 or 4 minutes, and like every season, I mean, you got new players out there for the most part, and you just got to go through those games and get that experience of learning how to close games out and how precious each possession is. And so we had some non-conference games that came down to the wire and won a couple and lost a couple. I think it prepared us for the WAC games that we've had thus far that came down to the wire. And, I thought we executed pretty well. I mean, obviously, up 4 with, 35, 40 seconds, and we actually elected to go to our press, back to our zone, and they banked in a 3 from the top of the key, and that's what happens in basketball. And, you know, I liked how our guys responded. They didn't hang their heads. You know, they came right back and continued to compete and execute. And then, you know, obviously they're late. It was fast and furious. And I thought we had a little bit of a breakdown in one of our switches. Allowed them to get to the rim and lay the ball in. And they didn't have any timeouts. So, you know, we elected to just go with about 13 seconds on the clock. And, you know, I like those situations when you got speedy point guards and the court is broken like that. I didn't account for, you know, AJ throwing a 40-foot rope, you know, with 6 seconds left, because I kind of was thinking that he would drive it down to as deep as he could, and the clock would evaporate, and we'd get exactly the last shot. But certainly liked the way it turned out, and I thought the play of the game was our guys not celebrating after the layup. You see a lot of basketball games where, you know, the players in the court will prematurely celebrate and get excited, and they actually ran back and got matched up, and we were in switch mode on ball screens, and they executed a switch brilliantly, and then obviously their player lost his balance and fell down. The game was over. But I thought that was the play of the game, was the fact that they got back and got their matchups and continued to defend rather than celebrate and think the game was over.
UMKC on Thursday. What you know, I know for you it's kind of hard to go back and at this point watch them, but at the same time, now that you kind of prepare, what do you know about this team?
They're playing their best basketball of the year. You know, they had a rough start to the season. They had a pretty tough schedule, and they found themselves, you know, on the wrong side of the column early. But from watching them grow into the WAC schedule, you know, they went over to Bakersfield and you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, that game came down to a referee's decision and a call at the 0.2 second mark, and otherwise, you know, that's a heck of a road win, you know, for them. And they're coming off a home win versus Seattle. And from the video that I've watched, the thing that I'm most impressed about is just how hard they're playing. I mean, they're committed to their style a little bit more this year maybe than last year. They ran a little more. They played a little more like UTRGV last year in terms of pressing and trapping, and they're playing a little more traditional this year, still having a mentality of trying to turn people over, but they're not pressing and trapping quite as much as they were last year. And they're a team that got a lot of returnees. You know, they got a lot of guys that have been there, done that, and they understand how hard you have to play. And probably that's what sticks out to me the most is just how hard they're playing right now and the confidence that they're playing with, you know, in the WAC season.
Does it feel like ages, Coach, since you've had a home game?
Excuse me?
Does it feel like ages since you've had a home game?
I'm so glad to be home. I mean, it's, you know, the Seattle Utah Valley trip, in my opinion, is our hardest trip with flight schedules and driving and et cetera, et cetera. And then for a one-game trip, UTRGV, in my opinion, is the hardest of all of them just because of the flight schedules, the choices that you don't have. And certainly there's quite a bit of driving involved with that one as well. And we need to, you know, be at home for a while. And we need a couple home games. We got our students back now, and they've been unbelievable all year long. And we're hopeful that, you know, that will continue this Thursday and Saturday. And certainly hope that the, you know, local folks that follow our team are excited to be able to watch us again, and it'll feel good to be back in the Pan Am on Thursday.
Do you feel like this is the most consistent Eli's been since you've taken over the job?
No question about it. You know, he's playing at a high level, not just from where I sit, but just look at his numbers. I mean, I think he's shooting high 60s from the field. You know, he's only shot 3 threes this year, and that's kind of been, you know, his choice, not mine. I'm not the one that told him not to. But I think because of it, you know, his numbers are better from the field, and he's shooting his free throws much better. He's shooting with confidence. You know, I think that Christmas break really helped him get confidence in his stroke. And then defensively, you know, I talked about it earlier, he's become one of our most talkative players. And when your bigs are your most talkative players, you know, that's when you got the best chance each possession to be successful because they're that free safety. You know, they're that center that's calling the blocking schemes out, if you will. And he's bought into it. And he knows it's helping his team. And in practice, he's been really, really good. I never envisioned him being a leader for us, but he is. You've never heard me really talk about like that with him. I was more just worried about him playing at the level that I thought he was capable of and that we needed him to play at. But now he's not only doing that, but he's helping others. He's being a good teammate, and he's been more coachable, and he's definitely playing his best basketball since I've been here. I know maybe he had some number-filled seasons or stretches that were more eye-popping before I arrived, but in terms of influencing winning and understanding, how we want to play and what we think is important to winning, he's really bought in.
I know you don't like to get too far ahead, but certainly you've had to come across some Chicago State film and traditionally a team that hasn't played well as of late. How do you make sure that a team like that doesn't get overlooked in your own building?
Yeah, I mean, I know Coach Irvin well. I've known him a long time. His family name resonates with Chicago basketball, and my first job in '92 was at Elmhurst College in Chicago. So I've known of and gotten to know some of the Irvin family for just all my travels, etc. And he's a good guy. He's a good coach. He's doing a good job, at Chicago State. Their scores, just from watching their scores, unfortunately, I haven't watched a lot of tape on them. I just haven't. But from watching their scores, they're winning some games, and their scores are more competitive than maybe they have been in the past. And a lot of times, when you're a new coach, and we went through it last year, you get that new energy and, kind of a start over type situation. And from the sounds of it, that's what's going on there. And certainly, we'll get more into them as the week progresses.
How big is this home stretch of just making sure these 2 games you do what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We got to take care of business at home. We got to hold serve, whatever cliche you want to throw in there. And you just had to have a good week. We got to keep praying for the Yvonne situation and then just try to get better like we always do. We talked to our team the other day, Monday or Tuesday, leading up to the UTRGV game about the dog days. And, we talked about baseball and how that term is used in baseball. And, we talked about, like, for us, that's kind of where we're at. We had a whole week off of games, and at this point, most players don't get real excited about practicing very long. They want to play. And we understand that, and we try to keep it as fresh as possible, but more importantly, try to get them to understand that, there's going to be teams that are stagnant, there's going to be teams that are still trying to get better, and there's teams that are at real close to their optimum level of playing, and they're just trying to stay healthy and tweak a little bit there and here. But I told them, we're not one of those teams. We're not close to playing at our optimal level. We're not close to peaking, and that's the good thing, that we've got room to improve, and we need to grasp that and understand that and try to use it to our advantage. And so they've been really good so far. They've been a good practice team. They're a lively bunch. They're every day I go in the locker room, they got a good demeanor about them. They're happy, and but having 3 days before our next game, we took yesterday off, and we'll see if they had that same demeanor. I expect that they do, and up until Thursday, we're just going to try to get better, and then like you said, we just got to take care of business at home.
You mentioned the possession. I think you played zone maybe a couple times late in the game. Is that something you haven't done that much this year, right? Is that something that you're mixing in here late in the WAC schedule, or maybe playing the Eli strengths or whatever?
Yeah, we definitely played more zone last year than we have this year, but we've gotten more confident in it, and we've played it more a little bit recently. I think it was the Bakersfield game where we probably played it the most, and in my opinion, it completely changed the tide of that game and really turned the momentum of that game. And then since then, we played a little bit against Utah Valley, and then we played 2 or 3 possessions of it against UTRGV, and it's nice to have another pitch. It's nice to not throw the fastball all the time, and hopefully we'll continue to get better at it. And obviously those are always game time decisions, but we usually use it to try to change the momentum of the game or just try to throw the other team off balance. But we're primarily a man-to-man team. But I'm not opposed to playing zone, and if we continue to get better at it, we might see more of it.
Is it just the 1-3-1, or do you have multiples though?
It's actually just a matchup. That's the great thing about it is, it looks different all the time, and so other teams, You know, I'm not in their huddles, obviously, in their meetings prior to the game, but it's interesting to watch how teams attack it. Some treat it like a 1-3-1, some treat it like a 2-3, and some will treat it like a 1-2-2. And that's the beauty of it, is it kind of morphs into where the offense is. And you know, but it's been good to us for a long time.